We said in the previous excerpt of the video that the concept of prospection and retrospection, or the concepts of prospection and retrospection, are not attached to the time we are in. I mean, we can be in the past, we can be in the present, or we can be in the future. They are simply related to the way in which we jump from that past, present, or future, whether we jump forwards or whether we jump backwards, depending on the relationship or the sequence in which primary and secondary actions have been introduced. We are going to start with the first case in which the prospection and retrospection might be applied when we speak. The first case in which the prospection and retrospection can be applied when we speak is when within the sentence we have the case in which the complement is an action. For example, I like apples. In I like apples, apples is a noun, which is the complement of my sentence. But what happens when we have an action instead of a noun, a nominalized action? For example, I like eating apples. When I have an action acting as the complement, that action, then the relationship between the verb, which would be the primary action, and the complement, which would be the secondary action, suffers this phenomenon that I called prospection or retrospection. Why is it that we've always been told that verbs of like and dislike are followed by gerund mostly? Because they are based on previous experience. I cannot say whether I like something if I haven't tasted it before. So there is usually a relationship of retrospection between the verb and the complement. For example, I like eating apples. And why is it that when I use the same verb, would like, with would, it is followed by infinitive? Because in that case, it resembles want, or it means to want. I say that I want something in a very polite way. Excuse me, I would like to eat an apple. I am mentioning nothing about my previous experience. The only thing I do is ask for an apple. So the relationship between like and the complement is a prospective relationship. I would like to eat an apple, but I haven't eaten it yet. That happens with a great deal of verbs. Is it applicable 100% of the times? No, it is not applicable 100% of the times. But it is very widely applied, which means that when I come to verb patterns, because that's what I am talking about, verbs followed by gerund or verbs followed by infinitive, instead of having to study 500 cases, I will just have to study a few, because most of them, or a great deal of them, follow this pattern. Sometimes verbs can be followed by either by infinitive or by gerund. I mean, obviously, the relationship between the verb and the complement is prospective, I will use an infinitive. Infinitives are always prospective. That is why when I want to express purpose, I use an infinitive. Gerund, let's say that the gerund is retrospective. It makes reference to something that happened before. And sometimes it simply takes charge of those things that the infinitive won't take charge of. And I'm going to give the example of stop, which is the one we have here on the screen, or the example of need. Could you please stop smoking? What I am saying is whether somebody would mind interrupting the action that they have been doing so far. If I say, shall we stop to have a coffee? What I'm saying is stop, interrupt what we have been doing, and we don't know what it is. in order to start a new action, which is to have a coffee. So in this case, stop can be followed by either, and it, in a way, complies with the norm in both cases. If I use the verb to need is basically prospective. I need to drink water. I need something which hasn't been given me yet. That's why I need it. I need to drink water. So what happens with the gerund? Can I ever use need with a retrospective meaning? No. But what they do is that as the gerund is free and it hasn't been spoken for, what I do is that I use the gerund to replace the passive infinitive. And instead of saying, my car needs to be serviced, I say, my car needs servicing. So that happens with many verbs, with a great deal of verbs. Sometimes they comply with the norm with both gerund and infinitive. Some other times that we comply with the norm in one of them, which is usually the infinitive, the prospective non-finite form, and the gerund will take upon itself that function that the infinitive will not take.